Hello, hello, and hello. Y'all, what's up? Welcome to the Cup TV, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and where you could always come to us first to quench your thirst. I am your girl, Lana, your resident evil diva, and I'm here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because you know I love me some tea, her. And if you have some tea, you know what to do. Hit me up. I am currently just drinking strawberry sunkist because it's my drink of choice. Y'all know I love it. It's here, it's back, it's done, it's do what it do. But if I was drinking anything hot, which I should be because it is freezing in my house right now, I should be drinking some hot tea, but I'm not. But if I was, I'd be drinking in my cup mug. Yep. And if you have, you can get your own cup mug at LanaG'sCreations.etsy.com, where we do ship internationally and domestically in the U.S. So there are no excuses. And I'm looking at you, WWE Universe. I'm looking at all of you. Two up at the top, Topher, Lewis. But just, whatever. It is what it is. We move. But yeah.
I'm glad I'm in an environment on the cup where I'm not the only one that's called out now. Hello, I'm Lewis. I'm a canny laddie from Manny, and I am back. Rumble season is all about returns, and I have returned to the wrestling coverage on the cup. It's probably the biggest return since Nia Jax 2023.
You're forgetting about R-Truth.
That's what I was about to say. R-Truth returned.
No, I purposely picked a return that went flat.
True. Facts.
No, I'm very excited to be back in my favorite season in the WWE calendar, the Royal Rumble, and excited to be talking about some of my favorite Rumbles because not only my own Rumble pick is another favorite of mine. There's a few favorites of mine in this selection, and I'm excited to get into it.
Period. Yeah, it would be you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is now time for the Royal Rumble match. When we begin, 30 participants will enter the ring, and they will both be eliminated unless both feet touch the floor. And the individual who drew number 2, Howard Tofinkel, is here. Okay, Howard.
Howard Finkel, everybody. Howard Finkel, WWE Hall of Famer. Howard Finkel.
I wasn't anticipating. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting that one.
No, I will say I'm very much a little triggered right now because I've watched all the Royal Rumble matches today, and I've heard these rules like 5 times today, and I'm like, I'm tired of the Royal Rumble rules. Just saying. But good. Thank you, Topher. Thank
Both
you.
touch the floor.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Sure, Howard. Thank you.
Not as good as Luke Gallows, but you know.
No. Sure.
Well, we have our part-timer with us. We have even the Finkel. But of course, you know what it is. It's Wes. I'm here for the Rumble, just like I'm here full-time as always. Gotta say, don't have my cup with me, but I am bringing a giant thermos of water because hydration is important. And I'm feeling good and ready to talk about some rumbling.
You're getting thrown out first thing.
I'm just saying that was a little shady, but
that was very shady.
I will never complain about it.
You better hope I'm not in the ring at the same time as you.
I mean, we're talking full time.
Lana's the full timer here. Okay.
I'm about to say.
Compared to the rest,
Lana is the podcast. Me.
Lana is the workhorse champion this podcast deserves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Brooke. Period.
Hi, everybody. It's Brooke. And today I decided to be a little bit fancy and wear my Dynamite Diamond ring just for fun. But right now, I'm really excited to talk about 5 Rumbles that I actually love all 5 of these Rumbles. And I'm really happy that we're talking about the Rumble more beyond predictions and the recap because let's see, at least 3 people here I know for a fact this is their favorite annual event, and the other 2, it's got to be in their top 3. So, there you go.
Okay, I'm calling you out. I'm gonna stop calling out Topher because I just got the notification that Topher just ordered a cup mug.
Let's go,
We're on the air.
Live on the air.
Live on the air.
Hold up.
Go
So,
spend the money on the cup, Louis.
It will be coming to you by February. It'll probably be after the Rumble, but it'll be there to you. But
Just
yeah,
like
so,
Naomi. Just like
Guys,
Naomi.
You can be a lot of things. Be like Topher. Order a cup mug live on the air while you're watching the video. Be inspired. And don't be like
Period.
Lewis and be the only person without a cup mug.
Absolutely.
We've already gotten
It's-
2 moments of West Shade
it's-
aimed at
it's-
Lewis. We got like
it's-
another hour to go, y'all. This
It's a
is
gimmick
great.
now. Like it's a
It's Lewis' stick. He's just never
it's a
gonna order
gimmick.
cup mug.
What's the cage
No.
match
Got
on the
it.
gimmick?
It may or may not be a work. I'll let you decide.
Listen,
Right.
as I said the other day on another podcast on another channel we do have as part of the Cup family, I will order my cup mug when you least expect it.
Absolutely. That is
Well,
what
we
you said.
expect
But-
it to happen never, so you ordering one would be unexpected.
Right. I don't expect it. So the minute you order it, it's like, oh, great. But no, since Lewis did mention the other channels, before we jump into our business here, go subscribe to this channel and our other 2 channels. We talk about everything reality, almost everything reality on this channel. So if you like anything, reality TV or things in between like wrestling, hit the subscribe button, follow, share, all of those things. If you are a fan of Drag Race or all things drag, we talk about almost everything drag on our main channel at The Cup Pod. And so you can go over there and subscribe. And if you're a fan of Eurovision, you can also go to our Eurovision channel at The Cup ESC, where the Eurovision stuff is kicking up. It's recordings happening all the time now.
It's
It's
too much
ridiculous.
now. It's too much now.
It's ridiculous. So we have
Ukraine.
content coming out on all 3 of our channels almost every single day about all things that we talk about here on the Cup. So hit those subscribe buttons and follow us and do all those things. We appreciate you. And if you want to help us monetarily, you can go to our main channel and hit the money sign down below, and you can help us out monetarily. And all of the money that you send us in your super thanks goes right back into creating this podcast and making it bigger and better and stronger for you. We want to give you the best content we can, and so you help us, we give you great things. Period. Now that we got all the fluffiness and things out of the way, it's time, because it is Road to Royal Rumble. It's been said, but this is my favorite premium live event of the year. I think I like Royal Rumble more than I like WrestleMania, and that's just it is what it is. And I love WrestleMania, but I just love Royal Rumble. It's something about the suspense, who's coming back, who's gonna be here, what's gonna happen, and getting ready to set up for the road to WrestleMania. So it's very exciting. I'm very excited that we get to dive into some of our our Royal Rumbles of the past, talk about them, remember them, because we had some really good ones. And so, Brooke, thanks for coming up with this idea. It was fun to go back and reminisce, even though I was waited to the last minute to watch everything. But it's okay because I got it done. We all got it done. We're going to talk about it. So what we decided to do was we went from decades, actually, of Rumbles. People put in there from the 90s to 2000 to 2010, from 2010 on. So the present. So that's how we broke it up. And we're going to let each person introduce the Rumble that they selected, give their thoughts, and then we're going to talk about it. So let's get right into it. Period. Because am I going to cut somebody off if I do that? Yep, I'm going to cut all y'all off if I did that. So let's just go what we did before.
Final 3.
Right, final 3.
I can't believe I made it to this part of the Rumble.
I can't believe you made it either. I really wouldn't have suspected you to be here, Lewis.
It's shocking, really.
But here go. This is we'll start off this. Royal Rumble's happening on the 27th, though. By the way, let me just make the announcement. It's happening next Saturday. We'll
10
be
days
back
away.
10
days
days
away from
away.
recording.
Yeah,
Streaming on Peacock or the WWE Network if you're British and you still have the WWE Network.
Oh, wow.
This is the one time I have ever been jealous of Lewis living in the UK.
I mean, all the stuff that's on the WWE Network is now on Peacock, so I'm not that mad.
Right.
The
It's just
ability
a UI
to
thing.
skip to a match.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's missing in Peacock. If Peacock could have chapters,
Yes,
bring you to the match. Because
absolutely.
to isolate a single match is not as easy on Peacock.
It is not, because you have to fast forward, and then you get past. It goes so fast, and then you get, and then if you have ads, if you know. If you know, you know. But anyway, up first, I think there's Wes. It's on you. You have the floor.
Indeed. So, as everyone who knows, who watches the podcast, I started watching wrestling, like, there were brief instances in, like, the 8-9 area, but I basically started in 2014, and yet, I was selected for the 90s Rumbles, so I had my work to do. And for the last couple weeks, I have been jamming some old Rumbles. And through all the 90s Rumbles, I decided to select the 1997 Rumble. Now, before I talk about the 1997, my favorite Rumble, I do have to shout out the other really, really good Rumble that a lot of people were probably expecting from me, which is the 92 Rumble. But I have to be honest, I don't care if it's fair to Flair. I don't care. And so I'm going to let that Rumble sit out. But let's talk about the 1997 Rumble. The reason I chose it is because everyone knows that early 2000s Attitude Era, very late 90s, early 2000s is kind of the peak of wrestling to most fans. Although I would imagine in 10 years we might be talking about the early 2020s being some of the peak wrestling. But I chose it because you get some of the classics. You get the Goldust. You get Diesel.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Diesel,
the late and great Terry Funk. You get the Nation of Domination. Just some really over people during the 90s. But more importantly to me, in those Rumbles, we get Bret Hart. We get the beginning of what I would call the Stone Cold era in his dominating Rumble victory. Bret Hart, you still got screwed. And then to final off, you get Hunter Hearst Helmsley, which we know later to become Triple H. Rocky Balboa, who is later to become The Rock. So for me, this is almost like the beginning of the best. And so I think as this kind of a turning...
Pause. Did you say Rocky Balboa?
Oh, Maya Villa. Sorry, wrong Rocky. Hold on.
I was
Wrong
going to
Rocky.
say something, but I didn't want to be the person that corrected him.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the correction. Rocky Maivia. We all care about him so much. The Rock, being better. But yeah, we get Rocky. We get just the beginning of peak wrestling in this Rumble, in my opinion, and we get some funny, goofy spots, like Mil Mascaras eliminating himself in wonderful fashion, which is my favorite moment of this Rumble. But let's talk about it.
When she didn't.
That's what I was going to say.
I was going to say, he went through the ropes. He did not eliminate himself. And I was like, y'all screwed that man. He did not go out of the ropes. He did not eliminate himself. And everybody wanted to make fun of him for eliminating himself. I was like, you screwed him. He went through the ropes. He didn't go over the top rope. So
this was
Axelmania all over again.
This was back when WWF was in partnership with Triple R, right?
Yeah.
Triple R. I don't know how to. They pronounce it funny. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this, just purely for nostalgia reasons. There's so many names in there that you almost don't hear of anymore. Ahmed fucking Johnson. That man was slept on.
Very much so.
Can we talk about Ahmed real quick? Because
Yes.
I am aware of him. Like, I mean, I like to consider myself a bit of like a wrestling historian in the way of like, I at least know names and I'm aware of what they did. Like I knew he was an Intercontinental Champion. I knew he had this long feud with the Nation of Domination. Like I knew about that. I did not know how over this man was at the time. This crowd adored him. And I posted about it in the Discord, and Toper's like, yeah, it was like a really blown thing. Like it was like a big what if. I didn't even realize the circumstances of how he left the company to begin with. And when you look at that, like it's depressing. And I think this man, like in another world, is like a multiple time world champion. We are holding him in the same respect as like Triple H, Booker T, Shawn Michaels. Wasn't the best on the mic, but outside of that, I mean, this guy's incredible.
Just injury prone, man. And back in the day, that you didn't have time to get past that. We didn't have the same level of care and safety for wrestlers as we do now. So,
Yep. And of course, if we're talking about wrestlers that we, I didn't get to appreciate because, of course, in 2014 they weren't wrestling, but like Vader, and of course was wrestling, but Mankind was there. It's just a very iconic Rumble.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
That combination of Mankind and Terry Funk, that's something I'll always talk highly of. That little rivalry there, and this was pretty early on in that stage as well. So I believe this was pre Chainsaw Charlie, correct?
Yes. That
This was
happened,
pretty-
I believe, in
yeah.
98. I think is when that
98
happened.
was Chainsaw Charlie.
Mhm.
And that was, this was I loved hearing, and here comes Jake the Snake Roberts with the record of 6 Rumbles at the grizzled old age of 41.
Yeah, like when you consider the number we are currently looking at as the record is 20? 20?
And
Crazy.
the average age of like the wrestlers that like in your 40s is like wrestling prime now. You know what I mean? Like you are like next level superstar. What AJ Styles is like 45 right now, isn't he?
I believe he is around that age, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to think about that because that will make me think he's retiring, and I don't want to think about that.
Lana.
It's just like, man, people looked old. Wrestlers, they age rough.
Lana, you had a point.
Yes,
I
sorry.
did. I had
46.
several points. I want to go back to Ahmed Johnson because this is 97. I was in college in 97. I just graduated high school in 97. I know. But I watched this Rumble, and Ahmed Johnson was somebody for me who I was just like, I adored. He was one of my favorites at that time. And was like, why wouldn't he be? I thought he was gorgeous. I was like, look at this fine chocolate bald man, big, strong, muscly. Yes, period. And he was doing so good in this Rumble. This was where I started to get annoyed with the whole Nation of Domination because it started out the Nation of Domination with Farouk and it started with the whole as kind of like a play on the Black Panther Party, and I was like, okay, cool, this is a nice little faction for the few Black people, men in the company at the time. They had their own little faction. They're doing their thing. It was fun. It was cute. It was nice. It was good. This is where the around 97 is where the Nation of Domination kind of like was straying a bit, because then now it's like Crush was in the Nation of Domination. I was like, why is Crush in the Nation of Domination? Makes no sense. Then like the two guys who were like hanging, like I guess like the people, I don't even know what you call them guys, but they were there, and I was like, it doesn't make any sense. And then they brought in the little mini Farrakhan dude, and I was like, okay. And it just kind of started going weird. Like the Nation was no longer just a faction for the people who it was for at the beginning. It just started being weird and straight. So it's kind of like they brought Ahmed in, and then they didn't like that he was more popular than Farouk, and then it kind of got a little out of the way. I thought this was I love how they let it like bubble up into this, because I think we got a Farouk Ahmed Johnson situation at WrestleMania that year anyway. So it's kind of like I liked the storyline. Ahmed, he actually eliminated himself in this Rumble, not the other guy. He actually got screwed, but Ahmed actually eliminated himself to go after Farouk. So I love the stories that they created in this Rumble, and Yeah, I enjoyed this rumble. This rumble, I called it the rumble of we just go screw everybody. Everybody just go get screwed
Right,
around. And
everybody gets screwed.
everybody gets screwed in
Except
this rumble.
for Stone Cold. Stone
No,
Cold gets
he
eliminated, thrown
he
out.
starts the screwing. He was the screwer.
He screwed Brett. He screwed Brett before Brett screwed Brett.
What a great team in 1997. Bret Hart getting screwed.
Mhm.
But other thing we briefly touched on it, but just like the entirety of AAA being here, this Rumble has always been one of those like, oh yeah, this is the AAA Royal Rumble, because you hear them talk about like the four people that were here. So you have Mil Mascaras, who, I mean, if you know anything about Lucha Libre, he's like arguably the guy, right? Like him, El Santo, and Rey are like the men of Lucha Libre at this point. But then you'd have somebody like Cibernetico, who at the time was like brand new in wrestling.
20.
Now he's like a household name in Lucha Libre. He's been around forever. And then Piroth, who I'm not even remotely familiar with, but apparently he has a pretty big name himself. And then Latin Lover, who I'm aware, I believe, would wrestle a little bit off and on in the U.S. occasionally, but for the most part, he stayed in Mexico, and he made a very good name for himself. But all four of them were here. I will say, I think the
Okay.
I was talking. I feel rude. Sorry, I got a phone call while I was talking.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Sorry. But you have the only person who really got like a really cool shining star out of any of the AAA people, I would argue, is Mil Mascaras. But like, Piroth was in the Rumble for 10 minutes. That's nothing to sneeze at, especially for a one-time Royal Rumble participant. And I mean, the other two, Latin Lover and Cibernetico, didn't really get that same shine. But I mean, it's cool that they were even here in the first place. Can you imagine WWE forming a partnership with like, I don't know, like
Anybody?
Yeah.
and having
Like,
them show
say
up?
TNA.
Like, yeah, like, can
Maybe.
you imagine TNA and then you have like Josh Alexander show up in the Royal Rumble, be around for 10 minutes and then get eliminated? Like, I mean, okay, I guess that's what happened.
I mean, we could even have their new
But-
top talent, Nick Nemeth. He could make an appearance at the Rumble. Wouldn't that be great?
And
Yeah,
this
not
to me
rising
is
star.
what
like Nick Nemeth.
started the whole, like, I mean, you had surprise entrants prior to this, but when you bring in the AAA guys, you know, you've got this mentality of like, really anybody can enter the Royal Rumble. It is a worldwide phenomenon. And there was a lot of AAA stuff. There was a couple of events in 97 that had in the mid card, like a 6.
Yeah, I think in the mid, I did end up watching the entire pay per view. They had like a match, I don't want to call it a filler match, but they had like an exhibition match. Let's give it that name in the middle of this pay per view. And yeah.
So many people had to do double duty back in the, you know what I mean? Like Vader and Undertaker opened up the event, and they were then again in the Rumble. For me, there was a couple of so one of like the funniest moments is Jerry the King Lawler entering the Royal Rumble, getting knocked out of the Royal Rumble, and then pretending as if he was not in the Royal Rumble. He shouldn't have even been in the Rumble. So speaking of Bret Hart, and just like,
and I think to put perhaps a final note on this Rumble, we cannot leave without talking about the main focus of this Rumble, which was intended, which of course is Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
It completely was.
This is colloquially called the Steve Austin Rumble, and for a good reason. There were two moments that I just have to point out in case anyone goes back and watches this Rumble, knowing that these were both wonderful. In the very beginning, when Austin eliminates the entirety of every person in the Rumble and then just starts doing push-ups.
Yep.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen a bigger flex in all of the Royal Rumble, and I'm not including any Superman spots because those are spots. This was just absolute domination through and through. And also, the Bret Hart pog face. It's so iconic when he makes his return and then you see Steve Austin's face. Oh my gosh!
I'd argue
that is a classic.
I'd argue that this Rumble gave us the most gifable moment in wrestling when Steve is sitting on the top turnbuckle doing the all right. How long have I got left of this shit? Because it's so fucking easy.
And that's a taunt that lasts. Like they're not. I think it was
Yeah,
originated
we'll see
there.
that. We'll see
And
it actually in this
it
video.
goes on and it continues, and it's something that he does from then on out. He eliminated 10 people. A third of the Rumble was eliminated by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like and this guy was just up and coming. Like he was not, and they didn't even make I really feel that they did not make a big enough deal. I mean, it was more about Bret Hart being screwed because, they're building to WrestleMania, which was always going to be Bret and Stone Cold. They didn't know Michaels was going to be injured yet, but they did not make a meal out of Stone Cold Steve Austin winning this Rumble. And it's crazy because he's going to go on to be the only 3-time Royal Rumble winner in history. So it really was a fantastic show of events. He was in the ring for 45 minutes. The Iron Man.
Yeah.
Brooke, we can't hear you.
Can you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, we can't hear you. No.
You turn it on and turn it right back off. There you go.
Oh.
No. Anyway.
All right. So
I'll
Go ahead, Lewis.
I'll say this until Brooke sorts that mic out. Using the Mankind Funk fight as a distraction tactic, I loved that as that booking as that the way they choreographed that fight was going to be the distraction tactic for Stone Cold to get back into the ring was the refs aren't looking. I loved that.
Yep. And I also have another question, and I guess this would be for the old wrestling heads who, Lana, you were there for this Rumble. You know this Rumble, right? Better than I do, and I just watched it. But is there anything during that time? Because the thing, it's so shocking to me. Because for me, I started with Triple H being the game. I started with Stone Cold. I have never in my life heard the glass break without a pop.
Right.
And when I watched this Rumble, the glass broke, and there was nothing.
No pop.
nothing.
It was
Nothing yet.
before it. And so, in hindsight, and I guess this is a question to you, Lana, more specifically, did any of this surprise you, or going into the early 2000s and the Attitude Era? Did you see Stone Cold becoming that guy? Because I know you're a big Stone Cold guy. When did that happen for you? Was it this Rumble?
It was around this time, I would say, after Stone Cold, because the first, when he was doing the Ringmaster with Ted DiBiase and he had the $1 million belt, that was after he won King of the Ring, and it was he kind of set himself up in that moment to be I'm Stone Cold, because Stone Cold, that was the first time we heard because Stone Cold said so, was at the King of the Ring in 1996, I want to say. And so
Austin
in that,
316. The Austin 316.
Yeah, Austin 316. That's when we first heard we started hearing the Austin 316 in 96. And so from that point on, I kind of knew Stone Cold was getting to that point where they were giving him that push. This Rumble was, I think it was I think WrestleMania in this year of 97 when he became champion, and he was just that attitude just came. It was just once he became champion, and he was a dominant champion. There was nothing that could be said about Stone Cold. He was just that dominant. And so it was 96, 97 is where we started seeing the writings on the wall. And then it came to pass, like you said, in 2000, where it was there was no denying the greatness that was Stone Cold Steve Austin in WWE.
So during the pandemic, I watched every Monday Night Raw from 97 through 99. And every wrestling event that was there. So Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart at the WrestleMania 13, and Stone Cold Steve Austin not tapping out in the submission match and standing there and doing the push up from the sharpshooter, and the blood is just dripping down. I had that shirt as a kid, the blood from a stone, and it was a black and white picture of Stone Cold with the freaking blood just dripping down. Oh my God. That was the start of what was truly epic, and it just built all the way until he finally won the championship. You know what I mean? I think it's been so long since we've had this is why I get so upset, and I don't want to go into this tangent, but like this is why I get so upset with Cody not winning at WrestleMania, because like sometimes it's just the right time, right? You have all of the momentum and you have all of the buildup. Thank God Shawn, bless his heart, it worked out for the best for him, but thank God Shawn Michaels gets injured. You know what I mean? And he essentially has to give up the belt to Stone Cold. It was getting to Stone Cold regardless, but there was no more politics. Brett's gone, Shawn's gone, Steve's the guy. And I think that was what really made Stone Cold Steve Austin. So,
I mean, and on top of that too, of what I was gonna say earlier before my mic didn't work, y'all can hear me, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Just triple checking. Okay. He at the time, this was the record for the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble.
yes.
Which again, something they didn't really make a big deal about at the time, but this didn't get broken until I think Kane in 2001 when he had 12 or 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was more than 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve was fantastic in this Rumble. Also want to touch on the other tiny thing that has nothing to do with Steve Austin, but it is something we should probably point out. The presence of Diesel and Razor Ramon in this match. We do need to talk about it because
Yes.
I know we were like trying to wrap it up and move on, but it's something we need to talk about. So this is right around the time, the year before Kevin Nash and Scott Hall had left and went to WCW. And this is when they were doing the whole fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon thing. So fake Razor Ramon comes in, he's yeeted in like 20 seconds by Ahmed Johnson. It's quick.
Yep.
Fake Diesel, who would later become Kane, I might want to add, just for the record, was in this match until the final 3. He got third, got eliminated by Bret Hart. He was in this match for like, 20-ish minutes, a little bit under 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And, when the fans had no reaction, because at first I didn't really get a good look at Razor Ramon, but I remember somebody telling me that Scott Hall was never in the Royal Rumble. And I'm like, I feel like that's wrong. And I was, oh no, it's this Rumble, isn't it? But like, even then, I kind of think it worked. I don't think it, like, the gimmick did not, but like, their presence here wasn't distracting. And I think that goes to show you just how good this Rumble is from top to bottom.
Right.
Not to mention that they didn't like Scott Hall. Well, Razor Ramon, he didn't even get an entrance. Like there was no music being played. The clock didn't go off. He just walked out there. Literally, just walked out there because everything went wrong in that moment. He was supposed to come out, and I think, and also the fact that Kane, like you said, Kane or fake Diesel stayed in this match until the final 3. That was when they realized how valuable he was as a wrestler and why he should stay around. And then that's why when they were like, we can't let him leave. We'll just figure out a different character for him.
And then we got Big Bad Glenn.
We got Glenn, and we got the dentist part.
Jacob
Dennis came before this. Isaac Yankem.
Yeah, Dennis came before
Isaac
this.
Yankem, right?
It was sweet. They knew he was somebody who needed to stay in the company. They just needed to figure out where to put him. So it was moments like this. I was like, oh wow, look at these people who were not really big at the time, but then later on, as we go through these Rumbles, we're going to see these same people who was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Rocky Maivia, Lil Kane, who we didn't know was Kane, and all of these people, and to see their, I guess, how they rise into the superstars that they are is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is also the year because Kane. I looked into it because I was curious what the timeline was on this. So this was his last televised appearance as fake Diesel. This is also Rick Bogner, who was the fake Razor Ramon. This was both of their last TV appearances as these characters. Came and wrestled some more house shows as Diesel for a few months. He would get taken off, and then Bad Blood '97 was when he came out as Kane.
Yep.
So this was like, 5-6 months after that was when Bad Blood was. So, I mean, you really look at how quickly he went from joke parody gimmick to one of the top guys in the company like that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of
And then
insane.
Freaking mayor of Knox County, Tennessee.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
We won't talk about his politics, but all right.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
I do. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and it's easy to forget though that Diesel's performance in this, even though he was third place, third longest lasting, because the next pay-per-view event was called Final Four, and it involved Vader, The Undertaker, Stone Cold, and Bret Hart as sort of like a rematch of the Final Four because of the Austin being thrown out, and we just pretended Diesel was not
there.
Not there, no. Please. I will say, I think out of all the locations, I think the Alamo Dome is the one location I most resonate with the Royal Rumble. I mean, it is. I thought it was the most used venue. It's tied as the most used venue for the Rumble, with Wells Fargo Center in Philly. But no, I think they need to keep on coming back to the Alamo Dome. I think if there was like an anniversary kind of show, I think the Alamo Dome would be a perfect anniversary Rumble.
Well, on that note, we are going to move on because we don't want to spend too much time. And we got more Rumbles to get through. And Topher, I think you are up next.
Yes. So similar to with the reason why Wes picked the 97 Rumble is kind of where I went with the 2002 Rumble, except on the other side of the Attitude Era. It was, I've always viewed the Royal Rumble as sort of a yearbook, of who's who in WWE, right? Like if you want to capsulate like what is WWE at any given time frame, because really WWE's year is from, April to April because of WrestleMania season. So if you want to capsulate like who's in WWE, you look at the Rumble for that year. This was post-invasion era, so they had a much more loaded roster. It was kind of the last hurrah for a lot of these big stars. So I wanted to pick the 2002 Royal Rumble. And just to be truly frank, I miss Triple H, and I'm really sad that we're never going to get to see him wrestle another match again. I know there's a lot of like really bad Triple H matches out there and plotting Triple H matches. I think that is why I picked the 2002 Royal Rumble. And in general, some of the like craziness, I remembered this is a Mandela effect that took place. So for some reason, I had thought that Maven was never actually eliminated from the Rumble. Like I thought that he had gotten his butt kicked and all of that. No, Undertaker throws him back in the ring after doing a very botched trade job, and then throws him back out. But in my memory, when I watched this live, because I watched this Royal Rumble live as a child, I was 12 years old, and he was just never eliminated. And I was like, maybe it's going to come back and win the whole thing at some point. Of course, he never did. But no, they officially eliminated him. And there was so many good spots in this match. And thank God, as awkward as it is, because I watched the video package before it, and you have Austin just randomly saying, "What?" That was Kid Rock's cocky. And I'm glad I didn't have to be subjected to Kid Rock. It's the only time I've been okay with WWE putting in their own audio instead of the copywritten music for the video packages.
Right.
So that's my overall thoughts on that. And as we talk about it, I'm sure I'll have more things that come up. But it was really, really cool. This was Triple H coming back. Triple H is a face. A lot of big returns took place in this match. And then oddly enough, we look at the beginning of the Austin era. This was the end of the Austin era in such a, like, you could just see where he's falling out of that main event spot. I mean, he didn't even make it to the final two of this Rumble, and his elimination was very odd. You know what I mean? So here we are. What'd y'all think?
So first off, I want to just touch on something I don't think anybody else is going to bring up, but it is really cool to me. One of my favorite things about the Rumble is the first two, right? Because the first two people they send out are people, they're like, oh, we want you to remember that they're here most of the time. We want you to remember that they're here. These are people that are either going to be in the ring typically for a long time and they're going to make it deep, or they're going to get yeeted almost immediately, right? Because if you look at the rest of the Rumbles on trend here, it's pretty much what happened. But you get one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Rikishi, one of my guys, And then you also get Goldust, which, I'll be honest, I hadn't watched the 2002 Royal Rumble before this, like, bell to bell. I had just seen the highlights. So when it was Rikishi and Goldust walking out, I'm like, this is a really cool opening two people.
Yep.
And
A returning Goldust, mind you.
Yeah.
returning Goldust. And I was dancing so hard to Rikishi's theme music. I was having a real good time with it. Because also, I know we already did the top 10 theme songs video. I am so stupid for forgetting to put "You Look Fly" today on that list because that theme is incredible.
Is that what that says? You look fly today?
Yeah.
I always thought it was. Oh my god! I always thought it. Your flies unzip. Do, do, do.
Absolutely not.
So maybe this is just the Topher Mandela effect Royal Rumble, everybody. But yeah, I love that. Also, I also want to touch on Diamond Dallas Page being here.
Mhm.
Very sentimental wrestler from my family. Big household DDP fans. So I love that. And this is also the iconic double choke on Steve Austin and Triple H.
I was going to bring it
Hurricane.
up. That was my favorite elimination, and you'd think that from this Rumble, the Maven elimination on Undertaker. No, the Hurricane elimination is my favorite Royal Rumble elimination ever.
Yeah.
because it's something that you'd expect like a Truth to do nowadays. Because like I think Hurricane, because he had this like superhero persona, he was way over his head and thinking, "Oh, I'm this super powerful person. I can do this and that." And then when he goes to double choke slam, and it nothing happens. Like, and they're like,
Well,
I love that the fact that it became a moniker for Hurricane and several other Royal Rumbles to come.
Mhm.
Like he does
Yeah.
this when he comes back and he does this whole like I am this superhero, and it's like we all know what Hurricane is gonna be there. Hurricane is gonna be there for the fun time, not a long time. It's very much like, really quick. He gonna come in, get a couple laughs, do this chokehold thing, and people are looking at him like, okay, boy, get out of here. And that's the fun part. He's just that fun filler character in the Royal Rumble. And I appreciate it and enjoy those characters because we can't have everybody being the super best and beating everybody up and eliminate. We need some people who are just going to lighten the load, give us some time for the wrestlers to rest a little bit because they need that moment to just like, okay, let's catch my breath and keep on moving. So
On
I
top of
appreciate
that,
that.
too, just in general, talking about the Hurricane, he still works for WWE. He's
Absolutely.
a producer right now.
Absolutely.
He's also signed underneath a contract that if they want him to come back and wrestle, he's not retired. He could do that. So he's always one of those people that I'm keeping an eye out for in the current Rumbles as like a surprise entry if they ever do it again. He's someone always got my eye on. It's like maybe he'll come out this year. It's been a few years. It might happen in 2024. Everybody, it's been about 3 years.
I feel like it's got to be last resort though, surely, because it's happened too often recently. Personally,
We'll see.
Well, the 2002 Rumble, because I have not given my sentiments on it. But Topher, I was super excited that you picked this one because, as you said, I felt like the storytelling that we had here potentially was peak. Because 2002 really is the complete sentence of like Stone Cold Steve Austin from top to bottom. Also, I of course, joining in 2014, it wasn't during the dominant time of Triple H, but his effects were still super impactful during 2008 to 2014. So I was a big Triple H person. So watching him be Royd Triple H was really cool. Just this entire Rumble is pretty cool. Kurt Angle, just like really quality wrestlers that we're gonna see for a while. But also, and I'll point this out because I'm gonna have to at some point bring this up later on. But just the athleticism of this Rumble was pretty awesome. Like, not that all Rumbles aren't athletic, but just the amount of athletic talent that we had in this Rumble was really cool. That might not be for every Rumble in the world, but this one I feel like was really good. So I give it my full, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed this Rumble.
I also need to say the commentary for this Rumble is peak
Mm.
commentary. JR and King is the best commentary duo of all time. And you can have, I think certain commentators by themselves are peak better, this, that, and the third in different areas. But Jerry the King Lawler and the King together, or sorry, Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross together as a team is like, that is wrestling, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree or not, Lana, but like that, like when I think of wrestling, those are the voices I hear. Those are the soundtrack of my childhood. The 97 Rumble, Vince McMahon was in it. Vince McMahon on commentary is always weird to me just because I knew him as Vince McMahon prior to like going back and watching his older stuff. So it's like, oh, what a maneuver. Just sounds weird to me. But King and Cole together, King and JR together, it was phenomenal, absolutely hilarious, good stuff.
I agree with that. I think JR and King were like great for me because I'm older. Gorilla Monsoon was one of another commentator that was the voice of WWF back in the 80s and early 90s. And so you had Gorilla Monsoon, and then Gorilla Monsoon with Vince was actually really good. Vince and JR just starting out, it was kind of weird. It kind of got in that moment, but then they got into that groove, and it was like, okay, cool. JR, Vince, the King, it was good. But then when Vince left, it was like JR and the King just gave us what we know as commentaries today, and now it's like they were the voice of WWE. They started it, and they made it where they taught Michael Cole how to do it. And now we got Michael Cole as the voice of WWE, and it started with them. It started making sense. Commentary made sense with them, but Gorilla Monsoon was somebody else who was just top tier.
Another person I want to talk about, because we're not going to get the opportunity to talk about him for the rest of the video, and he is somebody that I really think we should talk about, is Test. So first off, Test was only in this match for like maybe a minute and a half, so his actual appearance in this match, not really much to write home about. But Test as a person and as a character was always someone, when I was when he was back on ECW back in the day, he was always like a lingering threat, so my child brain didn't like him. And then he eventually just went away one day, and I never really found out why. And then if you look into a lot of what happened to him during, like, right after his second release, because he would get released in 2004, Test really was another one of those what if stories in wrestling. He was really one of those guys that he died way too young. He died at, I think, 33 or 34. Extremely talented. There was a time period where he was a top guy in this company, or it seemed like he was right there bordering on top guy status. And then after the whole Stephanie McMahon Test thing fizzled out because of Triple H and that iconic wedding thing, because people forget Steph was marrying Test during that segment. Like, that's who she was marrying.
Nobody forgot that.
Well, I don't know. I feel like people do.
Nobody forgot that. That story was too important. That story was too important for people to forget what was the whole thing happening.
Right.
But
not to mention the lover or leaver street fight between Test and Shane McMahon.
Absolutely.
But back to my point of being, Test kind of just dropped right back down the card after that, and never really got an opportunity to shine when he was, in my opinion, one of the best big guys they had on the roster. He's huge, like massive, and he is just another one of those like what if people that could have been something huge in this company that just never really went anywhere. But I am happy he's part of this match because it gives me an excuse to talk about him for once. So
this was somebody who I was also like crushing over in my youth, because he was just so good looking. And I was just like, yes, I love Test. Test was somebody he was a great wrestler. And I agree with you, Brooke. I do believe Test was on the cusp of being one of the top guys in the business. But even in this Rumble, he had just made a immunity clause in his like an immunity thing where he couldn't be fired. Like, that was a storyline where he couldn't be fired from the WWE. So he was on the verge of doing some really great things in the business, but I feel like politics in behind the scenes kind of pushed it back. But yeah, he was one of those guys who was really, really talented, and I thought could have done really, really well. You
And
know.
the irony that this emanated from the Phillips Arena
Mhm.
in Atlanta, Georgia,
In Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
which we'll get to in a little bit. And a fun fact about this, as another button up on Austin's thing, 36th career elimination in the Royal Rumble, which was a record held for 8 years.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else they want to talk about this Royal Rumble? Any other fun facts?
do
We
we-
can't forget Chuck.
Not Chuck and Billy. Jeez.
But they were not Chuck and Billy just yet. This was pre
Chucky and Billy.
Chucky and Billy. Yes, this was when they
Immediate
first
mistake.
started
Let's
teaming
move on.
Oh,
together.
this was. It wasn't bad. Was it badass?
No, he was Billy at this point. Just Billy.
Just Billy, yeah. But like, I thought he was like. I thought he had some sort of nickname.
No, this was he was
No,
badass.
He was not Mr. Ass at this
No.
point.
Not
okay?
Mr. Ass. No, I'm not saying Mr. Ass.
This
He had
was-
a nickname. He had a
this was-
nickname that was separate to Mr. Ass.
There was the one Billy Gunn.
The one.
Billy Gunn,
Billy
yes.
Gunn,
Yes.
that's the one.
But this one, he was just Billy because he dropped the one.
Yes.
He was like, I'm just Billy in this Royal Rumble.
The last thing, the weird, unceremonious, like Rob Van Dam was on the mat, and then Booker T just comes out, picks him up, and throws him over. Like,
Yeah.
that felt very awkward. I didn't know if that was like how that was meant to happen or what was like, but it just is like, all right.
I mean, I'm a fan of seeing Booker T giving us a spinner Rooney in the middle of a Royal Rumble. So
Always.
I was
My
very
man.
happy we got that.
Always.
Yeah.
All
There
right.
was something else. Oh, I won't. No, I won't talk about it. Anyway, if that's it, we move. So up next, Lewis is doing
Yes. For the first time, emanating from the Phillips Arena in no.
How ironic, though, right?
Yeah, it's completely ironic that we chose two Rumbles emanating from the same arena. Yes, I
they would
did.
go back to the Phillips Arena so I can go because
Right.
next door. Like, go back to Phillips. Go ahead. Okay, I'm
Give
sorry.
me a Rumble, Manchester Arena in Manchester, please. UK. Right. Anyway, yes, I chose the 2010 Rumble. The reason for this is first that looks like the 2009 graphic, but I'll move.
Nope, it's not. It's 2010. I made sure.
They're very similar.
Are they?
I follow through.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, the reason for this is purely for nostalgia reasons. My 11th birthday, I had a giant birthday party. There was like a huge group of us. I had Royal Rumble 2010 on DVD as one of my birthday presents. I had a karaoke machine as one of my birthday presents. What we did was we put the Royal Rumble 2010 on TV, and we had a karaoke machine, and we had like two of us, and we were doing commentary for the Royal Rumble 2010. It was genuinely one of the most fun birthday parties I had as a kid because we had a bunch of these people that genuinely, most of them had not seen wrestling before, but they were so captivated by watching this Rumble. Yeah, I loved the CM Punk of it all. I was so involved with the straight edge society when that was a thing. And
Can we rewind it real quick? Earlier, when we were talking about the 97, West said, I don't think there has ever been a bigger flex than Steve Austin doing push-ups in the middle of the Royal Rumble. I don't know, because CM Punk doing promos in the middle of the Royal Rumble, that's got to be up there.
He was delivering sermons whilst just throwing people. He was like, "Oh, hold on, let me just deal with something real quick." Anyway, I loved that. We've got to mention Beth Phoenix coming in and delivering one of I've said my favorite eliminations, but this is another top elimination in a Rumble, I think. Literally kissing Khali over the top rope to eliminate Great Khali. That was an incredible moment. And then the big return, which is probably the second biggest Edge return in a Rumble, to be fair. But Edge returning to get his vengeance on Jericho, who so they had been tagging as the Unified Tag Team Champions prior to this. Edge got injured, and then that gave the birth to Jericho because Big Show stepped in to take Edge's place in that tag team, and I believe Jericho was very adamant about saying all this shit about how Big Show was always the better tag team partner than Edge always was, so the best thing happened out of that, and then Edge came back to get his vengeance on him. I thoroughly enjoyed this, but the main reason I picked this was because it's the one Rumble I can always remember because of that moment that I had in my personal life where I had everyone watching and we were doing commentary and it was so fun. And I was like 11 years old at the time. So,
well, Lewis, now that you've said that it matters so much, let me talk about why I despise this Rumble. No, I'm just playing. I was gonna say
this is like a top tier.
No, I'm totally joking. But I do gotta say, I was ready to watch this Rumble. I'm like, I'm getting my I'm like, all right, Cody's in this Rumble. Dolph Ziggler's in this Rumble. Kofi Kingston's in this Rumble. This is about to be one of my favorite Rumbles. I rewatch it. I got some issues, and it's very small issues. I didn't get enough Dolph Ziggler. I only got 2 minutes of Dolph. And then Cody, he enters in. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for some Cody Rhodes before he hit the big time. And I forgot that he didn't get to stay that long. Thankfully, my boy Cody made it a long time. Like he was there for a good while. I was like, my favorites didn't show, but dang, this was a great Rumble. We got Big Match John doing Big Match John stuff. We get the Edge victory. So I will say this is a great Rumble, but man, I totally looked at the card. I looked at the people and I'm like, this is about to be the best Rumble of all time. And then I was watching and I'd be like, there's my boy Dolph, he's opening up. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot this.
Also,
it was soul pressure.
Go ahead, bro.
A couple of things I want to touch on. One, because I like talking about the first two. Dolph Ziggler and Evan Bourne could have been, if they would have given them, didn't CM Punk them and do what they did with CM Punk, which I appreciate. I think as a gimmick, it was great. It works really well. These are two of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I am a bit sad because Wes, you had the Dolph thing happen to you. I had the Evan Bourne thing happen to me. Only difference is I got eliminated first. So thanks for that. But on top of that, I want to touch on my second favorite Royal Rumble elimination. If you read my header, my favorite is Paul London getting his head chopped off in 2005 by Snitsky. But my second favorite Royal Rumble elimination happens in this Rumble, and it is, of course, the elimination of Shawn Michaels. So this is the first Rumble I watched live. And when I was watching this, I wanted Shawn Michaels to win this Royal Rumble more than anything on the planet. Okay,
because there was so much on the line.
There was so much on the line. Shawn. Because the Slammy Awards had happened the month before, and he had already been like, yo, Undertaker, I want a rematch at WrestleMania 26, right? And he basically was like, kept shutting him down left and right, be like, no, you lost, deal, move on, right? And when they were like, Shawn's like, fine, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble, and I'm going to use that win to fight The Undertaker. Somebody else can have the title shot. I don't care, right? And in that moment, I'm like, I'm really captivated by this. I adored this because I love Shawn Michaels. He's one of my, at the time, he was probably my favorite wrestler at that time. And when Batista, that son of a bitch, does what he does, and the thing is, it wasn't just like a clothesline and Shawn's out. No, he is batting Shawn's hands off the rope. Shawn is grabbing and holding onto this rope as hard as he can, and it's just bop, 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 bop. And he's trying to grab the rope as he's falling back, and then he lands on the floor.
That is.
When I was a 9-year-old child watching this, I cried. Like full disclosure, I cried like a 9-year-old child. Looking back on it, masterful storytelling on the part of Shawn Michaels and Batista, really. And of course, we would eventually get that match at WrestleMania, but Lordy, the road they took us to get there.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to touch on is someone who I know is not going to get talked about if I don't mention him, so I might as well. And that is my man repping it for ECW, Yoshitatsu.
Yoshitatsu.
I adore this guy. Because if you watch any of his stuff in Japan where they actually like, I don't know, care about him and let him wrestle, he's incredible. He's really talented. And it's crazy to me that the only major win he ever got in this company was a freaking battle royal win at WrestleMania. So there's that. I think it was actually 26, the WrestleMania that happened after all this.
Also, Brooke,
yeah.
I think you just won an award. I think this is the first time you've ever mentioned ECW, and Shelton Benjamin did not immediately follow your mouth.
I adore
so
Shelton
congratulations.
Benjamin.
Shelton Benjamin.
See, I know
Gold
somebody
standard.
else would bring up Shelton Benjamin, so I didn't have to do it. Because here's the thing: if I'm in a recording with Lana and there's an opportunity for Shelton Benjamin to be brought up, I have faith in her that she'll do it. But
No, I was not going to bring up Shelton Benjamin.
R.I.P. That's my guy.
Wow.
But yeah, they got hit by the Super Cena train of eliminations, but both of them did actually.
Choo choo.
Choo-choo. But yeah, this Rumble's incredible. Also, the Edge Cena moment at the end is one of my favorite final twos of all time. It's great.
So I had some thoughts about this Rumble. It's a good Rumble. It's a good all-star cast, but it's got some very interesting moments. One, Matt Striker on commentary is I don't know. I'm like halfway between enjoying him and he's insufferable. I have not decided. I'm like, because he's like, it's like having a super fan that's sitting there at ringside, but then it's also like a super fan that doesn't actually represent the people. I don't know. It's a weird.
I feel like I did myself like some sort of justice by making my friends do the commentary over Matt Striker.
Right. So then, I gave praise to Triple H earlier. If we would have recorded this prior to Survivor Series, I would have said, "Oh, look at this! More evidence of Triple H ruining CM Punk's push every time." CM Punk was on a roll, and out comes Triple H and just unceremoniously eliminates CM Punk. And then it was weird that there was only like ever, I think at most 6 people in the ring, but like mostly it stayed very small ring. It never filled up to capacity. People spent very short amount of time in the ring. Like it was, I think almost everybody spent on average, only like 4 or 5 minutes. So it wasn't like anybody was like an Iron Man. I think Triple H spent the longest amount of time in the ring. And then
I will point out, because I do have the stats with me. I'm Mr. Stat Guy. John Cena, but of course, has the record with 27 minutes, but everyone else is like under 12 or 12 minutes.
Except for Shawn and Triple H. They're both pretty high up there. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very it was you're right. 27 minutes there for John Cena, but still, it still felt like it was like everybody was in the ring.
There was like nobody in there the entire time.
Right, for the entire time. And then like because I have seen, like, Edge was my favorite superstar at the time, and this being Edge's Rumble was like amazing to me as when I think I was 20 years old at this time, or 19 years old. So this was beautiful. I didn't get to see it live because I had plans to go to Hooters to watch it, because Hooters used to air it used to watch wrestling events, and this was the first year that they stopped. So I was like outside ready to go, and I had not ordered it. It wasn't in the budget back then. And so I missed this event live, but it was, I remember Edge winning it, and it was a good time. With the benefit of hindsight, because we have now seen what Edge looks like now, and Edge looks shredded. Edge did not look his best. And he is in the ring with some heavily testosterone superstars. And I felt so bad for him, because I was like, God, it just didn't, you know what I mean? I don't know if anybody else caught that or felt that, or maybe it's just me, but like, it was a very weird, it was a weird look for him. He didn't look like him because of seeing so much of him for the last couple of years. Yeah. So yeah, it was a very odd, I think with the benefit of hindsight I don't think Edge Jericho was as memorable of a match. And I think that had you had Shawn Michaels win this and you kept the belt on The Undertaker going into WrestleMania, I think the WrestleMania rematch of like career versus title and streak would have been bigger and less predictable, in my opinion. But that's just my thoughts on that. Overall, it was a pretty decent Rumble. It had some really good events. I don't know if there was any one specific thing that stood out overall, but it was a fun romp.
Yeah. Lani, you're on mute. If you no, I'm a couple of things. I loved when I was a kid, I ate up that whole MVP being attacked by the Miz, and then when the Miz came in for his entrance, MVP goes back into the ring and eliminates both of them. I loved that bit. Pre Broken Dreams, Drew McIntyre, I was so thrown off by that. When I was watching this again.
Yes,
I was so thrown off by. He had a theme before Broken Dreams. Why am I forgetting that until now? And also, those tights did not fucking suit Matt Hardy whatsoever.
He needs to wear his Jinko jeans for the rest of his career.
Right.
To be honest. Also, one thing I really do like about this Royal Rumble is the uniqueness of the aesthetic. It's that like really cool white and blue coloring that they didn't. I don't think they ever used this again. But to me, like this is one of those Rumbles I remember visually what it looks like because it's the only one that looks like this. I really do miss that coloring on the palette here. It's great. I love this Rumble too.
That's right. Will anybody else have any more thoughts before we move? All right. Well, we will move. This was the Rumble I was going to pick if Lewis didn't pick it, so that was good. But it's fine. It's fine. The next one, I guess it's me. I decided to go with the Royal Rumble that just was. It might not have been the best Royal Rumble, but it was the historic Royal Rumble for me, and it's one that I remember. And it is the 2018 Women's Royal Rumble. It was the very first Royal Rumble for the women, and it was. As I went back and watched it, I was like, "Yeah, this probably isn't the best Royal Rumble. Like, it was a lot of things that they could have done, spots that were a little shaky, a little iffy." I said, but this was their first Royal Rumble, so I was gonna give them, cut them some grace. But overall, it was still a good Rumble. It was memorable. I still remembered it, and I was like, you know what? I enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing that we got to have a women's Royal Rumble, the first year to ever have one, and now to see how big and how amazing it has gotten, because if we look at the women's Royal Rumble now, it's like, wow, look how far they've come. Look how good they've become, how much more comfortable these women are going into a situation like a Royal Rumble and executing it and doing so great. But this one is just, for me, it was like, it was my heart pick. I was going back and forth because I was like, I know it was either between this Rumble or actually the 2010 or this men's Rumble in this season, but this year. But this one was just good for me. I just love this one. I thought it was so great. The women did an amazing job, and I love this Royal Rumble. That's it for me.
Yeah, well, I'll start with 2 words. And I think these are like, when I watched this Rumble, I only came back with 2 words, which is Sasha Banks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen, at least in the Women's Royal Rumble, a match that just shows her pedigree being far above everyone else, except perhaps Asuka, but probably, honestly, Asuka even too, and that's coming from me. Sasha Banks was a workhorse this entire match and slaughtered this entire match. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic to watch. It reminded me of why I want Sasha Banks back so badly, because I had forgotten why she was one of the 4 horsewomen, and now, I had put Bayley at my top slot as my favorite horsewoman. After watching this, it's hard to do that just because of how excellent Sasha Banks was in this entire match. But good match overall, great choice, Lana. But I just wanted to highlight Sasha Banks.
Absolutely.
I agree. Sasha Banks absolutely stole the show in this, and it was really like I miss Sasha Banks a lot after watching this match. She is unparalleled, and Triple H needs to get on the horn and do whatever he can do to get her back.
So, people, I'm going to ask, who do you all think I'm going to talk about? Just curious.
Liv Tyler. Okay. Liv. Why did I say Liv Tyler? You're talking about Liv, though.
We're gonna go with Ember Moon.
You are all wrong. The correct answer is I'm going
Vicky.
to talk about Molly Holly. Okay.
Oh, I forgot.
So
Yeah, Somali Holly.
if you are not aware, Molly Holly is my favorite wrestler of all time, point blank in the period. So when I was watching this live, and I knew that we're going to have more legends because it's the first women's Royal Rumble.
Mhm.
You're going to have a lot of like legendary women coming through. Also, Vicky Guerrero. But
Excuse me.
when Lita and Tori Wilson came out, I'm like, okay, this is a really good list of people. And I kind of figured they'd have Trish at the end because she kind of has to be at the end.
Mhm.
But I was like, okay, we're going to get like 2 or 3 more. And then Molly Holly comes out. The fangirl scream that I let out when I was 17 years old watching this, I was so excited. Not only did Molly Holly come out, she hits the Molly go round. It looked great as usual. She also eliminates Sarah Logan, which yay for Molly Holly. You did the thing. But we also need to talk about Michelle McCool.
Absolutely.
First, at the time, this was the most eliminations in a women's Royal Rumble. She had 5 on this night. Didn't get broken for a few years after this too, I don't think. But she just came in and eliminated 4 people like that. It was like, I mean, maybe that's what you get when you're married to the Undertaker, but damn. And then Vicky Guerrero coming out and stopping the Rumble for all intents and purposes. Stops the Rumble.
Excuse me.
We get, because Wes and I watched this together on Discord, over Discord last night, and I'm cackling because I adore Vicky Guerrero, at least in this role. But you also have
I
Kelly
do not.
Kelly, Jacqueline, Beth Phoenix, both of the Bella twins, and Trish Stratus coming out. None of them were on TV at the time, so it was awesome to see all of them. But one more person that I just want to briefly talk about, Kairi Sane.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't know, she
Yes,
wasn't even
she wasn't even meant
to
to
be
be in
the
it.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
supposed to be Alicia Fox, and then Alicia got
She
injured.
broke her tailbone.
Yeah, so they called Kyrie, I think the day before, and asked her if she would do it, and she's like, yeah, duh. So Kyrie shows up. That's also why she's not in the match very long. But those 2 insane elbows warmed the cockles of my heart.
Mhm.
So this is one of my favorite Royal Rumbles, even if it's not like the best from like an in-ring standpoint.
Right.
I just adore it. It had so many people I love. Ember Moon's in this too, and I love her too. So all of those people. I'll
listen.
cover the legends.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. The only thing that my only qualm about this entire match, it had nothing to do with the women and the
Yep.
wrestling that they did. It
It's
was
the
the
way it
audience.
ended. Oh,
No, it's the audience. I hated this audience when it came to this match because this match was about these women. And every time somebody came out who was married to a superstar, it became about that man. When Michelle McCool came out, they started chanting Undertaker. When Nikki Bella came out, they started chanting John Cena. When people who are married, when Brie came out, they were doing the yes chant. And I'm like, sure, that's cool, that's the gimmick, but it ain't about them. They had their own match. Let this be about the women. That was my only qualm about this whole match. I was like, this audience is making me sick because they're taking away what it's supposed to be about these women doing this good historic thing, having their first Royal Rumble, and you turn it into the chants about their husbands or their man who they with, and it ain't about them. Undertaker had his moment. John Cena had his moment. Daniel Bryan had his moment. Like, let this be about these women who are in their performance. That was my only thing. And the way it ended, too. I didn't like that either. But
yeah, I didn't like the way the pay. When I loved the match, I don't like the way the pay-per-view ended. That's what I'm saying. I wish Asuka had her moment, and I feel like she didn't get her moment because we were so concerned about, oh my God, Ronda Rousey's here.
Yes.
If they really
Absolutely.
needed to have Ronda, that could have happened at any point between the WrestleMania and Rumble. It didn't need to be at that exact moment.
And that was the beginning of the end of my love for women's wrestling until she left. Sorry, Rhonda. But no, what I was going to say was just, listen, this might not have been the most technical Rumble in the world with like the best performance, but you had the final 3, 2 of them were the Bella twins. So like, how much can we expect? You know? And it's like, it's hard because you watch like the last bits of Asuka. Of course, I'm a huge Asuka fan. So watching her get the Rumble dub was wonderful. But again, her spotlight was stolen. And then, of course, knowing where this goes with Charlotte Flair kind of sours this Rumble for me, because that might be the worst feeling I've ever had because of wrestling. Although shout outs to Cody Rhodes in the most recent WrestleMania. That was pretty close. But no, it was a good Rumble. I don't know. There was like Nia Jax and the Bellas. There were just, the athleticism of the performers in this Rumble were not up to the par, perhaps maybe of another Rumble we'll talk about after this.
Right.
But we get Becky Lynch before she becomes the man in this one. Like, this is the man.
Right.
And we get all of these stars before they were like who they are now. And it's like, okay, I kind of enjoyed that. And so, yeah. But I definitely, I feel like everything that happened after this Rumble kind of sours the Rumble, because it was like, y'all ain't had to do it like that.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't
If
had
Oscar
to
would have won this belt,
that.
this would be an iconic Rumble.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we talk about the camera angle?
Hold on. Lewis was talking. Go ahead, Lewis.
I was saying, I was so pleased to see Tori Wilson back in a wrestling ring wrestling, because it felt like so long, and the way that she left originally was horrible, because it was literally just injury. So it was nice to see her back in the ring. Jacqueline.
My heart.
Queen.
My woman.
My heart and soul was like the younger girl in me was screaming like, sorry.
The reason why I love women, I'm a sucker when it comes to the Rumbles. I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and that's something that people like. It's like a divide. Like, people are divided on that. Like, people hate the nostalgia aspect of Rumbles. I personally love the nostalgia aspect of Rumbles. Bring someone back that we haven't heard of in years, or I haven't heard from in years, and I will go crazy. I still need. It's not nothing to do with the Rumbles, but there's one person that I need to come back for a Rumble that I've been dying to see back in a Rumble, and I'm holding out that it's going to happen this year, and I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to curse it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the reason why I loved this 2018 Rumble,
AJ Lee.
because it was a celebration of women's wrestling, and we got all these different people who have contributed to women's wrestling in WWE getting their spotlight and getting their this is like us thanking them by giving them a chance that I was going to say one last bow, but a few of these came back again, but loved it.
Brooke, go ahead.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Hold on.
Oh no.
What I'll say is this. Okay. Oh no, I remember now. Okay, so the ending of the match, because even after the match, okay, great. The actual way the match ended, totally fine. You have the brawl on the apron, and Asuka kicks Nikki off to win the match.
It was so
great.
calm. I loved it. It was just
God, that camera angle. Kevin Dunn, man. I know you don't even work there anymore, but my guy, you could have pivoted that angle so we don't see that big gaping gap between Asuka's feet and Nikki Bella's legs. But I mean, again, Asuka winning at the time, I remember everyone was like, "Oh, Asuka's gonna win," and then it gets down to a final three with her and the Bella twins, and I'm terrified. I'm immediately scared. But I'm just really happy that that this Rumble even happened to begin with, and two, I'm so happy they let the main event, because do we know how long it has been up until this past year, 2023, was the most recent year. Before this, 2018 was the most recent year where the men's went on before the women's.
Yep.
It was that long. So shout outs to 2018, because at least you let a main event, thank God. But yeah, I really like this match a lot.
I appreciated that this was a true. Again, it was a true. It really was like a tribute to our. Like, this was the Women's Royal Rumble. So like
Mhm.
they wanted to make sure that every woman had gotten the opportunity to be showcased. I think it was less so about necessarily story and really bringing people back. And I do love it did spark the bug in Lita and Trish Stratus. And we've
Mhm.
gotten since this Rumble some phenomenal matches out of both of them, which you would have been unheard of. And I think in general, it was just it was everything about this Rumble felt warm. I felt elated and warm while watching it the second time and at the time that I watched it. And I honestly didn't even mind it, with the Bellas coming at the end like that. I mean, because if it wasn't for the Bellas and what they did, we would not have the women in the prominent feature that we do today. I know a lot of talent had gotten the women as far as wrestling goes and gotten the attention there. But if it wasn't for the Bellas and Total Divas and Total Bellas, love them or hate them, feel the way that you feel about them, they brought eyeballs from little girls to the product. And that is the reason why women are in the main event of WrestleMania or in any sort of main events whatsoever. Because
So true.
you know what I mean? And so like, that's huge to me. And so, yes, give them the nod. Let them have their moment. And really, this was the swan song for the Bellas because did they come back for the Fatal 4-Way tag match at the one WrestleMania? I think they were in that. But other than that, I mean, like, this was it for them.
They were at
Evolution.
They were at
yeah.
Evolution that year.
They were at Evolution. Okay.
They were the
Which
main
was-
event of Evolution.
Okay. Was another, ending to that, but I mean, really, this is the major like swan song for them. So I'm okay with that. And then they passed the torch because the next year's Women's Rumble was not heavily laden with legends and things like that. It was their own talent that got to carry the day.
Yeah.
So, and I think personally that since the women have had Rumbles, because of the competitive nature and the fact that they have to be, the Women's Rumble has been better than the Men's Rumble almost every
Absolutely.
I agree.
Highly agree.
Also,
Go ahead, Lewis.
I was going to say this entire pay-per-view had the privilege of following Rumble 2017. So anything would have been a bonus after that. Anything would have been a bonus after that.
Oh
well,
yeah, that's
what
fair.
like it cannot be remiss the fact that like Royal Rumble is our favorite time of year, right? And we love the Royal Rumble, and up until this point it only comes around once a year, and it does only come around once a year, but now we get
2 matches.
2 of them.
They get 2
Right.
matches.
On the same
So
vein,
good.
I think
It's
it
like-
definitely upgraded it to my favorite type of match. Like WrestleMania might have had it before that, but now that we get the women's and men's. Also, speaking of the men's Royal Rumble, quick shout out to Nippon or Japan, because this was also the same year we get the Shinsuke Nakamura
Yep.
win. And
Yep.
so we got
Absolutely.
2 Japanese wrestlers
Absolutely.
winning the Royal Rumble back to back.
Only to
Two
get through
Japanese-
at WrestleMania, but okay.
So-
yeah,
so
two Japanese
we won't
wrestlers
see
losing
it.
at Mania.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I mean, listen,
well,
Japanese talent getting invited to the best stage and then getting screwed. I mean, come on, that's pretty classic.
Pretty classic WWE.
Yeah, pretty classic WWE. But Rising
It's
Sun
Sasuke
Rumble. This is
Yokozuna.
the Rising Sun Rumble, and so it's one of my favorites. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, I will say this, and then we can wrap it up. My favorite spot about this match was getting Mickey James and Trish Stratus at the end and doing their thing, and it was like that was a nostalgia moment that I was like, yes, because I remember the feud between Mickey and Trish and how crazy and weird and psychotic and fun it was, and to see them have that moment, I was like, I love this. This is why I love this, and I'm happy that we do get nowadays we get a mixture of the talent that is there on the show with a sprinkle of legends coming back from time to time now. Like I think they finally got a good balance of both in the Women's Royal Rumble, and I love that because it's going to get to a point where we won't even need the legends to come back because they have enough talent between the 3 shows to actually fill up a Royal Rumble, and I'm excited about that too. So, all right,
We do love surprise entrances, so
we do always do a
And can we
surprise.
get cameo TNA entrances, please? Like,
Period.
start working with other companies. Because
You
those
mean
are
Mickey
the craziest
James?
entrances.
I don't know how I felt.
Yes, give us Ash by gimmick infringement for this next Rumble, please.
All right.
There is no gimmick infringement going on. She has made 1 appearance. Don't come after Ash by Elegance like that. But now, to wrap us up here, is the Royal Rumble that I picked. So when we were doing this, the original plan, because Lewis didn't respond to the immediate message, so we each picked a decade, and I was like, I want the
I
women's
was
Royal
not
Rumble.
picking from 2 80s Rumbles.
Pick 88. It's the first one. You can at least talk about that. But I picked the women's Rumbles because I knew in my heart if there was one Rumble I wanted to spotlight, it was the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble. Now people are like, that one? That Royal Rumble? And I'm like, yes, because this Royal Rumble is low-key kind of fantastic. And I think part of that goes to, one, the winner being the correct winner. But on top of that, you have so many incredible people really making their mark in the product for the first time on the main stage. You get to see Shotzi Blackheart, Rhea Ripley, Santana Garrett, and Toni Storm, all of them come up from NXT. 3 of them were on the main roster within a year, or close to it. Santana Garrett, and Santana Garrett is working as a coach at the Performance Center now.
Yeah.
So all of them are still with the company. Well, Toni Storm's not, but semantics. But on top of that, we also get appearances once again from Tori Wilson, but we also get an appearance from Jillian Hall, who I adore. I think she's such a great comedy gimmick. I love her so much. Also, Jillian Hall and Billie Kay getting paired together. I need Billie Kay just to get re-signed, just so Jillian Hall can be her manager. That is all I want in this life. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, honestly, the real reason I picked this Rumble. I've told you all before, Molly Holly is my favorite wrestler. If I had to pick a second favorite wrestler, it would be Victoria. So I won. Victoria and Molly Holly at WrestleMania is one of my favorite matches at Mania. I know it's not even that good of a match, but I adore it. But God, Victoria is somebody that was working in the wrong decade. If you put Victoria in like nowadays modern women's wrestling and her prime where she worked with the company in the mid 2000s, we would be regarding her as one of the best in-ring talents of her generation. And I think she just wrestled at the wrong time, and it sucks to say that, but she got to come out and do her greatest hits. I was very happy about that. We also got her really good theme music, which I'm happy is still there. But on top of that, some other iconic people are in this matchup. But really, it's just, like Lana said, I think this is the match that has the right balance of the legends and the newer people. And it is a COVID Rumble, which I think is something that we do kind of need to talk about, because it does shape how we watch it. The final 2 being Bianca and Rhea, because those 2 are just. I mean, Rhea was. I think she was still the NXT Women's Champion at the time.
She lost it to Charlotte. She lost it to Charlotte.
Yeah. So this was. Yeah, I'm getting my years mixed up. But Rhea getting the most eliminations in this match.
Her and Bianca were tied.
Oh, no, not this year. Bianca got 4. Bianca got Rhea, Natalya.
No, that was Shayna Baszler and Bianca the year before. 8.
Yeah. But Rhea getting to be the monster of the Rumble, that really set her up on the main roster because she would get called up pretty soon after this. But on top of that, just Bianca Belair, just Bianca Belair. Because she had been called up at right around WrestleMania the year before, actually at WrestleMania the year before, and she hadn't really got the opportunity to do too much, and a lot of people were worried because I loved her from her NXT stuff, and then they were finally starting to build her up a little bit going into the Rumble, so we were like, okay, maybe she has a shot at winning, and then she won, and I think all was right with the world, because this would lead to one of my favorite WrestleMania matches would come as a result of this. Oh, sorry, one of my favorite WrestleMania main events would come as a result of this. And I know some people are still mad that it wasn't Bayley and Sasha, but shut up. This match is better.
Shut up.
I love them both, but Bianca and Sasha was the match we needed. It was the match we deserved. And I'm so happy. And this Rumble led to that. So it's another reason I love it. It's incredible. It's great. My opinion.
Yep. Well, if I was going to say something about this Rumble, I noticed when I was watching it, it kind of made me think of the 1997 Rumble in an idea where I chose 1997 because it was like the genesis point of peak wrestling to me, which was that Attitude Era. And I feel like that we're going to look back on this Rumble as the beginning of a lot of women who are going to then be what is going to be the peak of women's wrestling for a very long time, which is like 2021 to like, I don't know, maybe 2025. Who knows when it'll end, when we'll have the end of this great women's wrestling revolution that we've had over the last like 6 years. But, you had the Rhea Ripley's before she hits the main roster, the Bianca Belair before she's going to become like big match Bianca. Like, you're seeing these points of like wrestlers like the Triple H's, like it's just, we just didn't know what they would be just yet. We knew, but like maybe not to the extent we know now. And so like solidifying the next generation of women and getting to see the beginning of the peak of women's wrestling, at least to me, because, I have recency bias, but more importantly, I only started in 2014, and you compare 2024 women's wrestling to 2014 women's wrestling, pretty big difference, pretty awesome. And so I would have a lot of thanks to this Rumble for that.
Yeah, I mean, the only bad part about this Rumble was the commentary. I know I'm riding on the commentary a lot, but it was a very unique commentary.
You know what you need? A
place.
karaoke machine.
Yeah, Todd Phillips and was that Todd Phillips? I think it was Todd Phillips and Jerry the King Lawler, not at his best. I don't know why they had him calling the Women's Rumble in 2021. It just was not. Some of his jokes just did not land because I can put things in the time that they're in, but that was not the right time. It was weird. But did love this. It was weird. This is the first time I've gone back to a pandemic era match since post-pandemic. Let me tell you, the crowd is so necessary because that piped in crowd noise, that piped in "this is awesome" at the end of that, like it just did not feel.
My exact same thoughts, Tote.
Is there anyone else that when Jillian Hall came out, just panned the audience just to see their reactions change?
I did.
Right.
Well, I mean, like I said, I adore Jillian's gimmick. I am aware that there are a lot of people that don't, but I really think it's clever and fantastic, especially for when it was around.
Used to have a giant mole until Boogeyman ate it off.
No, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. Jillian was one of the people I was really happy to see because now I can take her off my Rumble wish list and focus on manifesting Eve Torres, Caitlyn, and AJ Lee. So,
right.
Knock on wood for all
and like also let's not forget like the fact that R-Truth is like again proving why he is one of the greatest entertainers of all time. Like Judgment Day R-Truth is peak, but like R-Truth losing and then winning the 24/7 championship from Alicia Fox in the middle of the Rumble.
I adored it. I loved it.
R-Truth is a goat.
Is him throwing Alicia at the ropes trying to fend?
It was so crazy. Like this whole match, I agree with going back and watching this was weird because it was like I haven't watched pandemic wrestling since it was we got out of it because honestly, pandemic wrestling was a bit depressing sometimes because it lets me know how much the crowd is such a so needed in these at these events. And so going back to watching, I was like, but it also showed me how amazing these superstars are. Because to do what you did, to put on a show and put on a performance as good as you did in front of screens, you know what I mean? There's nothing. They didn't hear the crowd noise. Like those piped in noises is so weird. But they had to perform like it was in front of 60,000, 70,000 people in an empty stadium with some screens there. It was so weird, but they did it. And like I watched the whole Rumble. I watched this one. I watched this whole one, the men's and the women's, because I just had time today. And I watched the whole thing. And I was like, both matches were really good matches. And I was like, wow. The fact that they did this with nobody there to just perform and just do what they love and do it as spectacularly as they would in front of a live crowd. I have to give them their props for that. And it was good. I enjoyed this. I did enjoy the women's match, though. And the right person won. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this. This is hands down, my favorite pandemic PLE. That's how I regard it. My favorite pandemic PLE. I loved this. I regard this as the Victoria Rumble because Victoria is my girl, has always been my girl. I was devastated when we saw the teaser for the Rumble the year before, and they had Victoria's Titantron on the teaser, but they scrapped her coming out because I don't know what happened there. I don't know the backstage politics of that, but she was meant to be there one way or another. There's no way they had Victoria's entrance planned out for the year before without having invited her to come along. So I do wish Victoria had her return in front of a proper live crowd, but I'm still glad we got a return regardless. Yeah. The brief Iconics reunion, and then the conflict that Billy Kay had going on during that.
Billy Kay is a gem. How did they ever let the Iconics go?
That part. But can we also talk about Shotzi Blackheart in this too? So I'm assuming that most of you don't get the whole Shotzi Blackheart Shayna Baszler thing that happened because it is
a big thing on NXT.
Yeah, it was a very niche thing that happened on NXT. So there was about a number one. It's one of my favorite NXT matches for whatever reason. I've watched it a lot. But it was a number one contenders battle royal for the NXT Women's Championship. And Shayna Baszler had just dropped the belt to Rhea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she came out and was a surprise entry in this match. She's cleaning house. And then she turns her back and Shotzi Blackheart eliminates her. And what I believe was Shotzi's debut on NXT. So that was why that happened. But this match is great. I'm really happy it happened.
All right.
And you know what? Yeah, that's all of our favorite Rumbles. Lana, if you want to, obviously. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
It's okay. It happens. Sometimes we just jump the gun a little bit.
I'm just so excited to hear what they think, you know?
I know, and I am too. And so we want to hear what you all think. Leave a comment below and let us know what your favorite Rumbles are. If you agree with us, if your favorites line up with our favorites, let us know. If not, tell us what yours is. We would love to hear that. And we would love to talk about we would love to just talk about it in the comments. So do that. Also, we're going to be back next week because we got to talk about Royal Rumble. It's happening next week.
2024 Rumble.
10 days away from this recording, we are going to be here talking about Royal Rumble. Somebody here on the panel is actually going to be there. I'm just saying, a little jelly.
Here I come.
But that's okay. We're going to talk about it, and then maybe we'll hear Toast thoughts a little later on one day when he get back because he's actually just making us completely jealous because not only is he going to Royal Rumble, then he jumping on a cruise the next day and dipping up out of here. So we ain't going to have him. We're not even going to have Topher here for the recap because we won't even know what it.
Don't worry.
Toad's going Hollywood. It is what it is.
Toad's going Hollywood. Part-timer. He's part-timing us.
I'll bring my Topher-esque impression. Don't worry.
It's fine. We got it. We gonna hold it down for Toph. Toph goes Hollywood on us and do the things that Toph does. But we will be back here to talk about Royal Rumble, and we appreciate you sticking around. If you want to. No, not if you want to, because you do want to. Subscribe to this channel, period. You've stuck around this whole time. You know you want to do it. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to our main channel at the Cup Pod. Subscribe to our other channel at the Eurovision channel, the Cup ESC. Do all the things to say you support us, and we appreciate you. Monetarily, we appreciate that too. Do that too. Follow us on all of our socials at the Cup Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok because we have funny moments and we put stuff out there all the time. So do that. You can also follow us on our socials. They're down there. You see them. And get your cup merch because why not? You got to get it. The link will be in the description below.
Be a Topher. Don't be a Lewis. Get your cup merch.
Period. And on that note, I didn't say it, Lewis. Brooke did.
I'm just
So-
noticing my handle is wrong.
Oh, well, then don't follow that.
Don't follow
the
that
right
one.
one.
Follow
It'll
the
be
right
right in. It'll be right in the descriptions below, in there. So do that one. Don't follow the one on the ticker. And on that note, cheers, y'all.
Only one
Cheers.
foot has touched the floor.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
It's now time for the